What's going on, and welcome to the Stick Drift Podcast, a podcast for all things cars, racing games, motorsports, and more. Yes, welcome back. I know we were gone for a bit longer this time. That's because, what was it? Oh, I had an exam. I had an exam in my defense, okay? I had an exam, and I was busy. It was a busy weekend.
I only had the whole rest of the week to record it.
Okay, yeah, but I didn't want to do another late episode, because obviously we're going to be leading into a bunch of things. I just remembered, I completely forgot to mention this at the start of the podcast. Another big topic, the crew update and whatnot, because we got to talk about that for the other Stick Drift channel as well, which we will explain, and a bonus episode this week. So, you know, why check out another late midweek episode when you guys are going to be getting a bonus episode this week? So I'll explain that in a hot minute. But yes, like the intro says, welcome back to the Stick Drift Podcast, a podcast for all things car culture, racing games, and motorsports. Today, in the world of, speaking of cars, we've got a bunch of SUV news, unfortunately.
We have of SUV news.
A saddening amount, frankly. We've had news on the Ferrari SUV, we've had news on the Urus, which might be getting the Aventador treatment, which we'll be talking about, and the other SUV news was from Jeep. We'll be going into that in SUVs of the week, which you will know if you are a longer-standing listener of the podcast. Which, speaking of, if you have ever listened to anything in your entire... If you have ever heard a sound... See, now this feels bad because it sounds like I'm calling out the deaf viewers.
That's very discriminatory. When they hear this, they're going to be livid.
That is true, actually. If they read the video. Exactly. If they read the subtitles on this one, they are going to be livid. But if you have ever listened to anything in your entire life, ever, drop a like. You have to drop a like now.
Legally obligated.
It's not my fault. I don't make the rules. You know, if you listen to anything, you have to. You know, if you don't, you know, then it's your choice. Then that's fine. You know, because obviously, if you haven't ever listened to anything, I think it's fine. You don't have to. But yes, leave a like on the podcast and subscribe with notifications on and whatnot. New episodes out mostly every Sunday. But I might adjust that because my weekends are goddamn busy nowadays. But yes, so carrying on with the news, we have a couple of stories that I kind of want to talk about too. A interesting thing with VMW, the VMW,
new brand.
I'll go into some issues with with a VW kidnapping story. A heisted JDM car that went on the time that we were gone. A JDM vehicle heist, which I will go into, and a Mach E security thing, which I guess jumbles into the SUV news. But yeah, that is to talk about.
I'm unaware of all of this news for once.
You're aware about the Mach E, to be fair. In fact, that
Am I?
Yeah, the Mach E security and not paying something thing.
If I was aware of it, I am not anymore.
Well, other than that, I don't think there's much other new. Oh, right, there's a new Mini has been revealed. Woo, let's go! And of course,
I mean, Germany requested the EU consider allowing e-fuels to be still used after 2035.
Oh, wait, Germany's asking for that.
Germany's begging the EU. I said BMW is asking the EU.
Well, is VW German government? Is that a thing?
VW's German as well. I think they were a while. They were a while back. Well, but I don't think they are anymore.
They definitely were a while back. No, they definitely were. But I don't know if they are currently. I imagine.
But I suppose it's all the German brands. You've got VW's massive, BMW, Mercedes. I suppose all of those are lobbying in favour of keeping internal combustion engines around.
Yeah, I imagine it just more money. I imagine.
But, of course, yeah. Exactly, how much they slide the European Union depends how. This guys.
Reveal of a new ID3 as well. So if I get onto that, I'll get onto that.
And an ID2.
And an ID2. We're spoiled, clearly. But you know what? We can talk about that first story first, then the one that confused you. So, Did I click the button that I think I needed to click? Did I click a thing? I must have clicked a thing. There we go. I did click a thing. Okay, right. But yes, like I was saying, what was it? It was the Mach E. So what happened with the Mach E this week? There was a story that you sent me, which was about the Mach E.
I sent you this?
Yes. So it was, if you don't, you'll remember it in a moment. There it is.
Yeah,
there it is. Yeah. So the
I
Mach E.
I said it's a Ford in general. I'm pretty sure. I didn't.
Was it Ford
Mach
in
E.
general? That,
Yeah. That's why I didn't associate with the Mach E. I was so confused. I think it was Ford in general.
Okay, yeah. So the story behind the Mach E being in the old stick drift news this week is, and I guess the beginning of the old SUV news, tut, that this thing has some form of self-driving. And it turns out that it also has, like the disgusting car brands of the current day, some form of a subscription, which you have to pay to drive the car, basically, right? Or features of the car, yeah. And what turns out to have happened, or whether it's like the bills of the car, something like that.
If you finance it.
Okay, yeah, so if you finance it and start missing payments on the car, some fun stuff begins to happen. Apparently, I've forgotten, and obviously audio, so I guess you can give it a listen while I waffle for a minute, and then
I'd have to find it first.
Yeah, I don't know what to get it to come.
I've already seen it. I know it goes up in tiers. It progressively
Was
gets
it a
more and more
TikTok,
intrusive.
Or was it a short that you
I
sent me?
have no idea. I assume it would have been TikTok if I sent it to you.
But yeah, so.
But yeah, it turns off stuff like AC, and you can't use air conditioning and heating and stuff. And then it starts beeping at you or whatever. You just basically progressively lose more and more features. And then it just says nah, and drives itself home.
So there you go. You can give a quick listen to that to get the exact details on it. But essentially, there's one really interesting thing that I want to bring up later into this. If you don't know, the Mach E is that very Mustang-looking from the very front. The one with the really disgusting grille that's essentially just a Mustang but an SUV. I actually see a lot of those in the UK, weirdly. Like, especially, it's one of those things where we mentioned it, so now I see more of them because it came up. So now I see a bunch more. But also a pretty goofy car, but I don't like what the grill looks like.
Yeah, it's levels.
So,
It sends you a text for level 1.
Oh.
Level 2 is annoying. No, level 2 is no air conditioner.
Oh.
Level 3 is annoying sounds.
Yeah, no, it starts like playing like an alarm, right?
And then level 4,
it drives to the nearest dealership.
It just goes. It goes home.
It just gets up and leaves. Which the idea.
Oh no, level 4 is it's unusable. Only on weekends.
Oh yeah, so it's like wait.
So you can still commute, I guess.
So you can still go to work, but you can't.
You can pay your finance.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then if you still don't pay it, then it just ups and goes on.
I love that, right? I love the idea that it stops working only on weekends, so that you can still go into work to pay off the car. You're basically being held like ransom. You're like, how actually crazy is that, right? Your car will shut down, yet will still only take you to work so that you can pay off the car. That's dystopian.
Imagine getting a brand new car. There's no way, no air conditioning or like a 35-degree day.
Yeah.
You can't use it on the weekends or something. You've only got weekday access.
It's borderline dystopian. The idea that your car will stop working until you and that it'll keep you on a leash to get you to go to work so that you can pay it. Wild to me.
I mean, if you're financing the Mach E, you deserve it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you've bought a Mach E is what's happened there. But, yeah, so then the other thing is that it will get up and leave. It will...
Yeah.
So the final tier of the you haven't paid your bill, which is still wild to me, but the final tier is that it will just get up and leave. It will start driving to the nearest dealership, which I guess Also, one, I imagine this car's more popular in America. The nearest dealership could be, what, like 1 billion miles away? So there's that. But
Well, they've been awarded the patent for it, but it seems way too in-depth for them not to try and implement on at least one model before they get called out or it gets made illegal.
Exactly, right. Like, yeah, that's crazy.
I'd assume it would be probably one of their smaller cars, like that new one they're working with, the VW one. I'd assume it would be like one of those smaller, cheaper.
But one interesting thing that I thought I brought this up, that say when it's driving itself back, one, that's gonna get the police called on it instantly, because you see a car driving itself, you go, okay, that's a danger. One, it's just a danger already. Like what? Like Tesla doesn't even want you to take your hands off the wheel if you're in self-driving.
Imagine you're repossessed, because you're insured on it, right?
Yeah.
You're into the insurance. Your car just bombing down the M1 as you maul somebody on its way to repossess itself.
Exactly.
But you're liable for it. So,
like, I imagine,
they get thrown in jail for your car repossessing itself and killing someone on the way.
So, before I'm gonna mention, just like, I imagine that if they ever remaster GTA 5, you never go to Michael's house as Franklin. You just get, like, what? You just click a button. That's the mission. Michael gets up at the back with the gun and is just screwed. He's just stuck in the car at that point. From that, I wanted to mention that, so insurance, if the self-driving
it works
Mach
differently in the US, as far as I'm aware, which I think is the only way it would work, is over there. Because here, no matter what happens, you are liable for the vehicle. It's no different than you leaving the handbrake off and it careening down the street and executing 5 children. Like,
which
you're
is
liable
why
for that.
I feel like this is already, straight away, wildly never coming to the EU. Like,
imagine it trying to navigate the streets of London to the nearest dealership.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't work.
Yeah, exactly. I imagine it on some some kind of like country road,
single lane,
the
the 2-way country track. It wouldn't have a fit trying to figure out how to go down there.
Right, the trees, some poor cyclist, right? Like it's.
Well, if it met someone head on the single track road, it would have no idea.
Exactly.
It would just sit there and either mow them down or reverse 5 miles back.
And how wild, like, imagine, it's pitch black. For some reason, you're cycling, right? And it's pitch black, right? You're on a country road, right? And a car driving opposite lane gets up to you and just starts slamming on the brakes because you've started getting near it. And as you're cycling past, you see the car's driving itself. Like, what in the horror movie would that even be? Like, it would be, like, that would be crazy.
Being hunted by the AI.
Exactly, right? Like, because there is that thing where, the self-driving goes around a turn, and if there's a cyclist on the pavement, it just starts, like, slamming on the brakes, like, midway through a turn. I imagine that, but, like, on some country road, pitch black, and then you look and the car's driving itself. It's wild to me. It's something that would never come to the EU. I think if it came to the EU and something like that happened...
There's probably some countries in the EU it could work, but the UK just isn't built for
yeah. I feel like straight away, the first time someone got hurt due to
it would probably be deemed unethical by the European Union.
Yeah. I mean, imagine, like, well, to be fair, something kind of similar, I guess not really a finance, I guess technically a finance, kind of goofy, completely unrelated to cars, really. Apple doing a subscription service for their phones, so it would be cheaper than financing, and you pay monthly, and so if you don't pay monthly...
I mean, when you think about it, people on contracts do that anyway.
Yeah.
And it'd just be getting a contract direct from Apple, essentially.
Yeah, but so what happens if you cancel the subscription is you have to send the phone back or it gets repossessed. Imagine the phone just diddles itself off like itself. I
imagine it just locks itself, and they'll do what they do with the repair kit stuff, where you don't get your money until they receive the phone.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah. I imagine that, the phone will just brick itself, right? But, I like to imagine, Ford buys Apple, And what ends up happening is when the phones ran out, it grows.
They release a
legs.
drone, and
like,
in the middle of the night, it opens the window like a little claw thing, and it just flies off.
Out of each corner, it gets like little propellers, and just like you have it on the desk. It's just a brick, and yeah, just like the 4 propellers come up, just lasers out of your window. Like, oh dude, that's self-driving cars, crazy, wild and wacky for sure, and this whole thing just so goofy.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if you can't afford it, don't get it in the first place. Like,
exactly,
you shouldn't be driving a Mach E anyway. So.
Yeah. There's better
the
stuff.
Scrapyard's repossessing it actually instead.
Exactly, it drives itself to the scrapyard. That's what it gets confused. You're just like, I imagine, cars become sentient, and you just get a depressed Mach E. You just get like.
Yeah.
You have it parked. You open your door one day, and it's just rugged with like beer bottles in front of it. The Mach E's had a rough time.
Yeah.
Which speaking,
it's not his fault it was born that way.
Exactly right. We can't discriminate against the Mach E. I mean, look at the Mach. I mean, it could at least shave. Like, what is the state of the grill there? But yes, from the Mach E, one SUV to another SUV is the well, speaking of having a hard time too, the Ferrari SUV has been fully, I believe it had been shown and revealed previously.
We've seen renders.
But I think now it's been tested. Obviously, it was spotted.
I've seen videos of people driving it, so.
Yeah, so it's began to be tested. So this is from Autoblog. The first drive review, more than just the Ferrari SUV.
It seems to be getting very good reviews.
Oh, is that so? Okay.
Yeah, Auto Trader and I think both Car Hub gave it very positive reviews. Which I find odd.
Yeah.
I mean, it is probably one of the last V12s they will ever produce.
Yeah.
It's a great engine. It's such a shame it's in that body.
But to be fair, right? Like, when you think of a Ferrari, like, I don't know what to think.
The prestige,
for a Ferrari,
the
right? The prestige, yeah, right.
And then that shows up.
Exactly. And specifically what I was going to reference is, apologies to audio listeners, but, you think Ferrari interior, you think carbon fiber, you think, sleek and whatnot. This isn't what I think. Right, this...
It's a Urus compare.
Like, yeah.
The Urus is the midlife crisis mobile.
Exactly, right. You take off the Ferrari badges there, right? Change the UI of the dash. That could be any car, to me.
Why is the passenger got your speedo?
I don't know. Like, what? Is it in case you've got a toddler? What, can you put Baby Shark on the goddamn monitor? Exactly. They've got, what, are those the gears on there?
Yes, I can see you are going this speed at this RPM. Thank you.
Exactly. Like, what's the point in that? Like,
why is the brake pedal comically wide?
Oh yeah, no, it's massive, is what it is. But essentially, to the audio listeners, I imagine now. Again, I don't really know the average. Like, if I picture right now, I couldn't imagine a default interior, but often rather asymmetrical, because obviously one of them is the driver's side. What seems to have happened here is it's perfectly symmetrical, except like it looks like they've attached like a slightly extra bit
I
of
know
bulge.
why they've done that.
Why? Oh,
Pull out the screen from the other side, right? You could fit the gauge cluster over there, so you don't have to redesign it for left and right hand drive markers.
That's what it looks like. It looks like it's just a pull out and put in for swapping the thing. So they're just maximizing what's it called?
You
money
can even
there.
see in the footwell, like both the footwells are perfectly symmetrical.
Exactly. It's a weirdly symmetrical interior. The interior doesn't look very. Now I imagine Ferrari isn't exactly
it looks
comfort,
like
but
2015 sort of Ferrari
like
488 or something.
This looks like it's trying
that
to be
looks
Ferrari,
like a sporty,
but it's also trying to be like your uncle's like midlife crisis car. Yeah, like it's
yeah.
It's a 4-seater instead of a 5-seater. The middle's like a whatever, and the seats just look uncomfy, if anything. But
they're not even that bolstered. Like, they don't have the side support on the back. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't see the point of having bucket seats without the bucket.
And the outwards design, right? Like the Urus. You know, you hate on the Urus a lot, but I don't think it's a terrible. It's an SUV, so it sucks.
It's like 230 grand.
Okay, yeah. When you include the money, cringe, right? But just flat based on its looks, I don't mind the Urus. It's like a really beefy Huracan, right? It's like an SUV'd Huracan. I think it looks kind of cool. There were so many Ferraris they could have gone with. To go with like the F12 TDF SUV'd, I kind of don't like the aesthetics of the Ferrari.
If you slammed that like on like lowered suspension and maybe like made the bumper a bit shorter, it's barely an SUV, really.
I was gonna say, yeah.
It's like more like a modern hatch.
It's like Polestar proportions. You know that one Polestar that's not an SUV, but it's like a really big. It's like almost an SUV.
Yeah.
It's like those.
It's like a big saloon hatchback,
yeah.
but just higher. It's just
like
off the ground a bit more.
Yeah, the Huracan's more of like a, I don't know how to describe, like a brawler kind of build. It's like small and bulky, right? Like, again, like the more Huracan, like a tighter, smaller build. This thing's got like this goofy, long build. I hate the... maybe I like the back. I don't know, the back looks like a Watch Dogs car, is what it looks like.
I can't see this selling as well as the Urus, so...
I would hope that it doesn't sell as well as the Urus, but...
I would rather hear this than the Urus.
It's like, I mean, this angle is a bit nicer. The back could work on something completely different. It's still kind of bad, but it could work on something
looks-wise, it's tragic, but so is the Urus. It's a much better car mechanically than a Urus.
Obviously, yeah. I think, again, they're just the cars that they're lookers, right? They're cars that are lookers.
Really?
Like a rich, as in, like a rich guy would want one parked outside. I don't mean as in like actually a good-looking car. I mean, you see the kind of cars rich people have. You know, like I could see, I don't know, Andrew Tate buying one of these. You know, it's like it's one of those goofy cars that, yeah, like a rich person would just have to have parked in their driveway.
This is the same person who buys a £200,000 Range Rover Evoque is going to buy this.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like the Urus filled in that gap, right? Like you'd have like the rich people, they'd buy sporty car, and then for an SUV, they'd buy a Rolls or they'd buy
not
Range,
a single
right?
human bought the Rolls. Not a single human.
You'd be surprised, but you know, like the big beefy Range Rovers, right? Presumably, Lambo wanted to go into that, like, market of the rich person who wants an SUV. This is for that exact market, and it's gonna butt heads against the, that actually hurt. I like, fist bumped myself right there as the butt heads.
Monitor has just died.
Has it died? Wait, what do you mean?
It's just dead. I guess
died?
I'm gonna use my side monitors.
Okay.
Sure.
Oh. Well, that's not the best. But yeah, so
now I've got Ferrari set up. I've got one either side with it.
Exactly, you've got just the one
Ferrari
either side.
reference.
Exactly. But yeah, this is gonna butt heads with the Urus. I think long term, it's gonna be interesting to see what comes out on top. This thing or the Urus, I guess, right? It's got.
The Urus.
This is it in the doors. It's got the front door. Is Urus? How many doors and seats is the Urus? I imagine 5-seater, but how many...
5-seater, 4-door. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, is it 4-door? Okay, yeah. I mean, okay, it's the POV rich person wants SUV, right? I know that market exists, and it's just gonna.
If Land Rover can it's almost 300 grand Range Rover.
Yeah.
This will sell.
Yeah, it's like BMW jumping into the Rolls genre, but like equally as goofy.
I see
but
this is
goofy.
built for the American market though. Like I can see this being much more popular in America.
I don't know. There's a lot of like you know the bruv type rich people. You know, like who am I thinking of? Like the Paradox.
The Range Rover Evoque Sport rich, not.
I guess.
Rich.
Yeah. True. But there definitely is the London rich, if you get what I mean, right?
If you live in London, you're rich by default. Your house is worth 1.6 mil by just living
yeah,
there. So.
Yeah. But yeah, the bruv rich, right? The Paradox Crypto is the people I have in mind, right? They're like, yeah, bruv.
This will be an influencer car, 100%.
That's the one. Yeah. That genre, the Urus influencer kind of genre, like yeah, bruv. Look at my car, bruv, right? And they'll get it wrapped black or whatever, you know, because they're all the same person, right?
Yeah.
That kind of audience, I think that would kind of let it go into the UK at least slightly. Continuing, I know we're well on SUVs. We'll skim past some of these, of course. We've got next on the list is the Jeep from Autocar, the Jeep Recon. Will launch 2025. I imagine this is a concept. But this is to compete with Land Rover's Illustrious Defender, which is their electric car, I believe. Something like that. I'd never heard of it, to be fair.
They aren't competing against much with this.
No.
Who is going to choose this over a new disco or something? Like, I don't get it.
But obviously, yes, the Jeep. You know what? We can run through this as a quickfire segment. So, Jeep entering the space of EVs with a new EV. Again, it'll be interesting to see. Wait, did we see a Jeep EV?
Exact same colours as the disco as well. That is actually meant to be a disco car.
I want to say was it Jeep? Who did I think? Have we seen an EV
We did a
from?
Jeep EV recently. It was yellow.
Ah, yeah.
But it was built solely for the EU market.
Oh, right, yeah. This thing. So
that looks better.
Yeah, well, by far, right. Well, like 100%. So yeah, what we're talking about here, audio listeners, is the Jeep. It's got a name. It was the one that won European Car of the Year.
It's one Car of the Year. Yeah, it's not even released yet, and it won it in January.
Yeah, so. It won it in January, not released, American, and won European Car of the Year. But I think it's like EU market only or something.
Yeah.
Continuing on the quickfire news, of course. I mean, I want to dub it "Who Cares?" But the car is a car, which is a great name for a segment. But whatever. The revealed Volkswagen ID3 from CarWow. Minor exterior and interior styling tweaks. Updated
Very
technology.
minor. I can't tell the difference.
Motors and batteries remain the same. On sale in spring. Sure.
It would imagine that, right? But it was all-wheel drive, like 400 horsepower.
Yeah.
Like it would be cool from a not technological standpoint. Like, yeah, but no, we get this instead, unfortunately. Front-wheel drive.
One car company that, again, in this quickfire thing, I will talk about, which is kind of an interesting thing. Cobra, the Shelby Cobra, known for being in the Crew 3 suit. One kind of cool thing about this car that I kind of like is it's kept its shape. Like, it's I would say it's probably a car that still gets released to this day. Probably I want to say one of the cars that has kept its shape the most. Like a legacy car that's kept its shape the most out of any car ever. Right? You look
they
at this.
Still make this? I know there's loads of brands that make reps.
Yeah.
I didn't know they actually still made them.
No, yeah,
Shelby made them.
This is new. AC Cobra GT Roadster. We've got some exclusive picks from Autocar, all new V8 powered, 654 brake horsepower AC Cobra. Yeah, they still make these for sure. And again, like I say, like it seems like it's just.
Do AC make it or does Shelby make it?
Oh, I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure it's AC who makes it, which is probably owned by some investment firm.
Oh, probably, yeah. But I just do like how this is such a heritage car, right? It's a really classic car. There was a bunch of them in Ford vs Ferrari.
I mean, they sell hundreds of them a year over here, so I imagine they sell fairly well in the US.
It's cool that they've kept the shape this much, right? You look at cars that we've talked about on the podcast before, the Civic, that has, like, never decided on a shape. It's just always morphed into something else.
Well, it's the same thing with the K-Rams.
Yeah,
it's a thing that works, so why change it?
Exactly. Like, I like stuff like that they've kept it, but like, what, like, the only thing here is, like, what, the Halo headlights, which looks kind of cool, because it's a modern thing on, like, a really classic-looking chassis,
The bigger wheels and the Halo lights are about the only thing I see different.
Yeah, which, again, the slight modernizations, but keeping such a true-to-itself design, kind of cool, in my opinion. we got the reveal of the Ford Puma ST, whatever.
It's not the ST. It's the power shift, isn't it?
Oh, it's the ST power shift. It's,
Wait, where? Where is... there's so many news stories. What date was this posted?
Ford Puma ST power shift from CarWow, exclusively a Puma ST Lite, 1 litre.
Yeah, it's not an ST.
Oh, is
it's
it not?
the 1 litre 3-cylinder.
Huh.
The ST's the 1.5.
Is it a hatch?
It's meant to replace the Fiesta, but if you've seen one IRL, it's massive. It's an SUV. It's a crossover.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks kind of big. Like I was gonna say
It's about the same size as a Mach E or a Grandland.
Yeah. Which also, by the way, I was kind of looking at it because I saw not an old Corsa, but like the post Audi A1ing of the Corsa, that generation, and then the front of the Mach E, which is what is gonna happen to the Corsa. I kind of prefer that generation, the post A1 generation of Corsa, to the really flat-looking Mach E and Astra design.
Well, the Astra and Mach E already have it. I'd assume they're going to put it on the Grandland soon, and the Corsa's getting it.
Because, I mean, that's what it's always been, right? Those have just been, maybe the Mach E excluded pre-A1ing, but it's been that, like, it's just the same car, but different shapes, right?
What? Ford Puma ST. I'm almost certain it's the 1.5. Engine.
Well, it said litre is if that's.
Yeah, it's the 1.5 3-cylinder.
Yeah, 3-cylinder with 170 horsepower.
The ST line was the 1 litre 3-cylinder.
I mean, to be fair, there's an ST badge on the front of this, on the images for it.
Yeah, because they're up-badging the ST line to an ST and calling it the power shift to sell it for more money.
Yeah, but that's an interesting one for sure. But to finish out the who cares? But the car and cares is a car, right? Good segment name, I'm telling you.
That's a great segment name.
But to finish that off with a slightly more in-depth one before we go into talking about, remember, subscribe, leave a like on the podcast and whatnot before we go into talking about the crew's new update. Some information on the Crew 3 actually too, as well as a JDM heist and some other issues with VW. So to finish off this segment, the Lamborghini Urus replacement confirmed for 2029. I didn't read that was 2029. Not to reference the segment, who cares, right? Like, 2029.
It's going to be a hybrid in 2024, allegedly. So.
Okay, yeah, so by then it's already a hybrid, but, like what?
They're going to add more weight to it, by the way, making it a hybrid. And then it's going to get even heavier, becoming an EV.
I mean, what's the point in calling it a replacement? Does that just mean that they want to refresh the looks, right?
It'll be another SUV.
Yeah.
Basically built on the same platform, maybe like half an inch longer wheelbase or something.
And I was going to say, right, the Urus sells, so, like, surely they wouldn't want to risk that, right? I mean, I guess that
it will sell no matter what.
Yeah.
Have you seen them?
so like, I imagine replacement seems like a strong word. Surely they'd want them both running at the same time, is my thinking, right? Like a...
They'll build another SUV, it just won't be called the Urus.
Yeah, exactly, right. It won't be called the Urus, it'll look different, it'll have a different name.
Same amount.
But I doubt they'd want to discontinue the Urus for it, right? Like, what if the
also,
next...
it's Lamborghini.
I guess, yeah.
It's not Vauxhall.
I guess, yeah, true. But, like, what if the next one stinks, right? Like, what if the next one
just
honks?
Of course it will.
Right? Like, what if it just, bad car, you know? You walk by and you...
Are you looking at the same image as me?
Right. The Urus, it's bad, sure. But, like, it's not terrible. Like, I don't think it's not like an ugly
Look at
car.
how big the front opening has to be so it doesn't just die. Like, it needs to gulp air. Look at the catfish mouth looking thing. It's disgusting.
I wouldn't call it an ugly car by any means,
I would.
I think... Yeah, see, so, like, I think the Urus is kind of cool looks-wise. But just looks. Nothing else. Just looks. But yeah, you know, check in with the Stick Drift podcast in 2029.
I'll give you an update mid-2029 on...
Exactly, what we think of the new Urus. Hopefully, if, you know, you've watched the podcast at least 5 million times, unless it's against YouTube's terms of service, in which case don't.
Rewatch this until have this on loop till 2029.
Exactly. If you have this on loop for the watch time till 2029, that'd be preferred. Unless it's not preferred by YouTube,
service,
in which case don't do it. Could we have researched that by now? Yeah, probably.
It's probably a quick Google search, but it's a Google search I'm not doing.
Exactly, right? So, like, if it is, don't do it. But if it isn't, do it, right? You know, you could say that for anything, right? So, yeah. No responsibility on us. But watch the podcast, and hopefully we're monetized by then, and we got bonus content coming out by then. Which, you know what? I guess, speaking of bonus content, this week we are going to be seeing on the Stick Drift podcast a bonus video, as well as a bonus podcast. Obviously, normally in midweek episodes are guest episodes, but this week on the Stick Drift podcast, you'll be getting on Tuesday 5 p.m. roughly, I think. GMT, yes, British time. You will be getting a full, in-depth mini podcast episode reviewing, talking about, explaining, revealing, all to do with the new update in the Crew 2, which got teased. The Crew US Speed Tour cities. Yeah, so the only thing, I mean, I guess I'll run through this, right? I'm better at the try not to break NDA challenge, right?
Yeah, I don't keep up with the Crew 2 at all. So
exactly.
They might have said it, they might not.
So making its way out the gaming segment this week. Also, big news to talk about for MOTORFEST 2, which I will explain.
MOTORFEST 2?
God, jumping the gun there a bit. No, I broke NDA. No,
broke NDA.
I've announced MOTORFEST 2. They were gonna do that next week. But yes, US Speed Tour Cities is the next, and what I think to be the final update of the Crew 2. It's the last confirmed update. With information, what we've gotten so far is that it's going to be the return of the highest, the biggest update in the game's history, by name, the US Speed Tour. This time being named Cities instead of East and West. From the teaser, what we've seen is it looks like, I think someone said Monaco GP, right?
Yeah, from the trailer I saw, it's like sort of street race sort of thing, but like organized.
As in, the like proper that I just like deja vu to Project Gotham Racing for some reason. That was a wild one. Whoa.
I don't think it's gonna be like Project Gotham Racing.
But I don't know why I played that game when I was like 5 years old. God. But yeah, so USB Tour Cities coming out March 15th. So obviously March 14th is when you're going to be seeing our full breakdown on it. Obviously we're going to be doing a podcast episode talking about it, as well as on the main channel, which we haven't really talked about and done much on. Normally what goes up on there is like 10-minute, the one segment of the podcast go up on there as thumbnail titled unique videos. But this week what's going to be happening is on the Stick Drift channel is going to be a Stick Drift plays, right? So I talked about this with eventually when we get monetized. What?
Nothing. Carry on.
What? No. What?
Carry on.
Okay, right. But I talked about this for when we get monetized.
Plays.
No, as in just like for the title, right? Because there's nothing else to it does sound goofy because it sounds like a channel name, right? Stick Drift Plays, and that sounds...
It really does.
It sounds really goofy. But it'll just be because, like I mentioned, eventually what that channel is going to become is every week, once we're monetized, every week is going to be Stick Drift Plays Need for Speed, some old one. Stick Drift watches some old car movie, right? Stick Drift
watches Stick Drift podcast episode 7.
And say, we get to the size of it, Stick Drift goes to that kind of thing, right? So that's just the
Stick Drift buys an RX-7 FC.
I mean, hey, that would be a good title thumbnail, and
there would be a good business expense.
Exactly, right. But yeah, so that'll happen like every week. So because we've got early access here on Tuesday, the same time as the podcast episode, you'll also see a video. Obviously, no extended cut this time around because we're still waiting to get monetized. Because the plan is that you'll get that every week. And then you'll get a bonus one on this channel with the memberships. You'll get an
You're
extended
struggling
cut,
to
right?
find time to record the podcast normally. I don't know where you're finding time for that.
Oh yeah. We'll see, I guess, right?
Money's a good motivator. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing, right? It's that you work a full-time job. The channel for me is already.
I could record it any time during the week.
I mean, true, yeah, right. But yeah, so I mean, I got the channel working as well, right? So it's like with the memberships, and we can provide the extra content. That'll make it easier to put aside the time and actually say, okay, we've got members who are paying a month for this, so this time this week we filmed the video for them, right? So yeah, so that's gonna come about. Obviously, we've talked about that before, but yeah, this week, in that same vein, there will be Stick Drift plays the US Speed Tour, cities, whatever, early, etc. Where me and Josh will just go in, whatever the update may be, we'll just have a bit of goddamn fun. Cars confirmed so far.
Fun on the crude side. It's a bold statement.
The cars confirmed so far are racing variants of the Celine S1, the KTM Expo GTX. Now, previously we have a racing variant of the...
It's called the Celine S1.
Yeah, it's the
I
Celine
didn't
S1.
call it that in mine.
The S7 is the hypercar one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called the S. It's called the S1.
It's called the S1. Yeah.
But yeah, what's it called? That's the KTM Expo GTX. We've got the GT4 in the same racing category, touring car already. This time it's the GTX.
Not the GT2 or
the one that's already in touring?
no, the one we're getting. You might be right, but I've seen GT2 at least once.
By hypercar name, it's the GTX. I imagine the real world racing version probably has a different name, yeah. But what's it called? Oh no, to be fair, I searched KTM GTX. I scroll down to an image where it's a racing version of it, and it is new 2020 KTM Expo GTX / GT2 concept. So that is the name of the racing version, yeah.
It has to be called GT. It has to have GT2 in the...
And looking at the images on Google, right, compared to the trailer that we saw, it is definitely that version.
Yeah, I'm comparing it to the trailer. It looks a lot like that, yeah.
With, obviously, the C8R, the touring version of the Corvette C8, which looks very, very cool as well. A fairly new car. I think it's only like a couple months ago is when I want to say like 2 months ago is when that car like spawned.
No, I don't keep up with my American race cars.
Yeah. And a variant of the Mini Cooper is what we saw, and all of that was just in a teaser. We're getting new information as it goes. We've got new information on cars that are returning from the agency update. Bentley Mulliner Bacala and variants of the KTM, like a motocross bike, F-Type, and E-Type. Those are all returning. What's the what?
Good Summit cars return, aren't they?
Oh yeah, and based on what we've had already.
Oh, based on.
Yeah, exactly, right. Given all the information that we've seen with the cars that have released this episode season, in order, the Red Fury, the Peppermente, then the Wasp, the Dark Knight, in that exact order that we've seen this season. What they're doing now is every other summit, they're also returning a car, and in that order comes the Magma Edition and the F12 TDF, and then after that is the Ghost Recon Raptor and the Edition 1 Veyron. Which, presumably, if they do continue that pattern, which it would only make sense that they do, because, again, with bringing back the Motorpass cars, right, like, they brought back the first Motorpass cars and the first Summit cars, and the Motorpass cars are confirmed to continue, so, and so on, right? So, we'll have to see what comes of this update. That will be, you'll see more on Tuesday. You'll see stuff on my channel as well, and on Josh's channel. For the update on the same time that all of this stuff goes up.
There will actually be a video for the first time in 5 months on my channel, so. And it's poorly edited. So.
Which, to be fair, you know what? I might skim on this. I might chuck the MOTORFEST stuff into the gaming segment. instead of this.
I have no idea what we got for MOTORFEST. So
yeah, so I'll run through that. But yeah, so the Crew 2's what I believe to be their final update. It only makes sense. It's the only it's the last publicly confirmed update.
One that Ivory Tower have confirmed is happening.
Yeah, and it's the last one they could even fit into the year, right? Like, if it goes normal update time, it ends in July.
With MOTORFEST being as close as it probably is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But from that into some of the other stuff that I wanted to talk about this episode of the podcast. I guess we can skim through this one. VW kidnapping issue. So what this was is, I'll run you through this because I don't think I've talked about this at all before. So what happened was there was an issue where right outside someone's house.
On TikTok.
What's the what?
I saw on TikTok.
Oh yeah, so like right outside someone's house, it was a mum, I believe. She was shoved away, and with her kid in the car, her car was stolen, and the car was a VW, and the good thing was it was a newer car, so it had GPS features. However, when the police reached out to Volkswagen for asking for, again, with a kidnapped child in the car, when Volkswagen reached out to about the GPS tracking to make it available to the police so they could track down the person who kidnapped a child and stole a car, VW returned and I believe died on the hill. Like, they didn't go back on it, I'm fairly certain, as far as I'm aware. They said the person who owns the car hasn't paid for the GPS, so get them to pay for it, and then we'll activate it. Which, holy
they use a third
shit.
party is the issue.
Is that what it was?
So VW would have to have gotten the third party. And I assume the third party told VW no payment, no tracking. And VW were like, no, they haven't paid.
Which, I feel like that's just a moral issue on all
I don't know why Volkswagen
like,
couldn't fork up the, 200 quid.
That's what I was going to say, right? Like, it's at both points. Because it's like, why
General
Volkswagen...
manager who was on shift that day weren't feeling it. I don't know.
Exactly,
she was saving up for somebody's shoes or something.
Like, it didn't want it to come out as bonus, right? Like, it's one, why couldn't Volkswagen just front the cost? And again, think about this for a minute, right? You could be cringe and be like, oh, it's not their job or whatever, right? Think about how valuable of a company Volkswagen is and how little of an amount this would have been. Like, Jesus Christ, people will cry.
It might have been a Dieselgate too, I don't know, when the tracker's active, it just spews out emissions, so they don't want to get found out.
Exactly, yeah. But like people will cry when a billionaire only donates $1 million, right? But Volkswagen is such a wildly rich company that it's not fair to say, hey, you pay it, right? And two, this third-party company, I don't know if it was a communication error, right? If they just didn't say what it was about, why couldn't they just front it, right? Like, with Jesus Christ.
I don't know if it was just the third company being difficult, because it might be, like, tricky with regulators. I think it might have to have been the customer has to pay to it because it's linked to their account.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't get how either the third party or Volkswagen couldn't override that somewhere.
Yeah. Which at that point, like, you know...
I think the third party's more to blame than Volkswagen. But the manager on shift that day just wasn't having it, I guess.
Yeah, clearly. Because it's like, it's like, physically, feasibly, it would have been possible to, like you said, override it. It's then what it comes down to is if feasibly it was possible... The only reasons it couldn't have happened would be morally, right? Where it's like that, like, you know, no, we want our money, right? Like, it's and again, you know, at both ends, you know, I'm just assuming that it wasn't feasibly possible. You've assumed that maybe it was some kind of, like, customer
Big corporations use the most out-of-date software.
True,
It might not have been possible, but I doubt it.
Thankfully, the story does come to a happy end. I believe the car was returned, the guy was arrested, the child was found. But wild story from Wild Car Brand. Jesus Christ, maybe some morals, you know, which...
Morals, money.
Exactly, true. But, from that, I would like to tell another story that happened while we were not, while we missed the week, right? This was a high-profile content creator's rare JDM car was stolen. It begins, as he explained, I'll basically be reiterating the story, a warehouse where the cars are kept, right? And someone, the bumbling oaf, had gotten themselves stuck in the warehouse because they were in it while the power went off automatically, and the power was needed to open the gates, so he couldn't leave. And someone ended up coming by and, got him out, but they left the power on as they went, and they left the door open.
That's like such a goofy system. Why is there no fail-safes involved in this?
Yeah. It was apparently a thunderous night, too, a rainy, thunderous night. It was LA, right? So, exactly, right? But what ended up happening was because it was left open, someone came into it, and I don't know if they hot-wired it.
Only in LA, someone walks into an open warehouse at night. Like,
that's
it. Surely
like
that just looks like a setup.
Yeah.
Like surely.
In a storm, too, right?
How would you not think one of these must be a bait car or something? Like, surely.
Yeah. Especially the rare JDM one of all of them, right? Like, what ends up happening is he goes into the place, and I believe the story's a bit lost on me for a minute. It's something to do with either it was he hotwired or happened to find a spare key.
To be fair, cars like that, you can probably just turn the ignition barrel with a screwdriver.
I mean, hey, maybe you could just plug in a USB.
Security 30 years ago weren't what it is now.
Yeah.
You could probably just touch the car and it wakes up or something.
So the car was stolen. He woke up the next day, he went to go check, and the car was just gone. The YouTuber, in this case, which was Ludwig Orgren, signed to YouTube, known for having signed to YouTube, known for his 1 month-long subathon, was previous Twitch streamer, now a YouTube streamer. He told this story. He told the same story, and he then essentially caused a nationwide, well, I guess it would have been just LA, right? But the story reached many people. But a citywide manhunt of a bunch of his audience hunting down the car. And eventually, they did find it. It's a very distinct car.
There's no way it's going
right? Yeah, right. It was an incredibly rare, imported JDM car. And eventually, they spot it. They go up to the guy, and it was a guy who had no idea what had happened. Presumably, someone sold it to him or paid off a debt with it, something to do with that. And the guy ended up driving away before the police could get there. And then afterwards, what happened is, they lost it. But then more people started messaging about having seen the car. And then finally they found it, went up to it, put in the keys, and took it back. And that concluded the story of the stolen JDM car, the rare stolen JDM car.
What car was it? Like, was it? Was it something rare, valuable, like a Skyline, or was it just rare, like worth like
wildly rare? Only available in the opposite hand drive. He had to import it. It's that rare.
That's most stuff in Japan.
Yeah.
We didn't know, but yeah.
It was stolen, of course, so it was unique too. This was the stolen rare JDM car. It was I don't even know what it's called.
It's a K truck of some kind. I have no idea what brand.
What is Ludwig's car? It is K truck, yeah. A Subaru Samba. It's a 1997 Subaru Samba.
It's a 97?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So, for the audio listeners, imagine, like, a baby semi-truck, right? Imagine, like, in the Cars universe, if a semi-truck was to have a baby, right? That, with a pickup bed, and, like, what could I even describe it from the front? It's got a Bugatti grille, to be fair.
It looks odd. Like, I can't describe the front of it.
It's got a Bugatti grille. Like, it's got the but yeah, it's like an old, yeah, like a 97. A 97
we got the new version in the UK. Like, actually,
did we?
yeah, it looks so goofy.
Oh, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, so it's like
a mini VW Bug kind of
it's
thing.
basically just like a modernized version of this thing, really. Like, it's on screen right now. It's literally just like is this the one you're on about?
Oh no, the one I'm looking at looks like the VW Camper.
Oh,
we
okay.
also got that one in the UK as well.
Yeah, I imagine it's just the same thing, but with a thing attached. Which, yeah, I mean, it you know, he's the man's a millionaire, driving around in that thing. Which, to be fair, it's rather respectable, right? So he said that he mentioned that he did buy an expensive car once. I think he said it was like a high-end Porsche of some kind. And again, lives in LA, the LA lifestyle, right? He mentioned that he was driving it around. I think a moped is what he drives more often, he said. But he said he was driving around the Porsche and, like, while driving it, looked around and sees people, you know, the people struggling, homeless people and whatnot, and just felt like a terrible person driving around in such a flashy car. So then he was
he donated the Porsche to a homeless person.
Yeah. So to be fair, the man does do a lot for charity, admittedly. But yeah, so he ended up sodding that off, and he got something that he actually kind of cares about. Like he really cares for this thing. So like, yeah, sure, you know.
Sure.
And it is a rare JDM car that was stolen.
it does fit the definition of rare and JDM.
What were you picturing? I'm curious what you were picturing when I mentioned rare. Because you said Skyline is what your first question
Well,
was.
I imagined it was something quite peculiar, like a K car or K truck. I imagined something like a Beat or something.
But yeah. I mean, it makes sense that this thing was so easily stealable too, right? Like, I mean...
I guarantee you this ignition barrel could probably tie your hand in this thing.
Yeah. And he said he's got it back and he's hidden it somewhere, because obviously he's going to have to let...
Someone has one of these near me.
Oh!
They have the full... It's the more modern one with the square lights in the front.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But it's a full van-style one. It's tiny.
Yeah.
I see how down to get it at Morrison's. Yeah.
Which, to be fair...
It's cool.
Like, cool. Yeah, like, for an obvious millionaire to genuinely have wanted a car that actually means something instead of something goofy just to show off.
A bicycle running into this would put you into the hospital. But...
yeah. But yeah, he mentioned, I think he's got this, a moped, and then like one, like, I think like really grotty sedan.
Moped's probably safer than this, because at least you're in a helmet.
Yeah. I want to say, I don't know. He might have only used this for a video. This was also a car I think he might have just bought this to blow up though, which good on him. I don't know what car this is though.
I couldn't tell you what it's a generic car from 90s.
It's like a stock AI American car is what it is. But yeah, so that was an interesting thing, and it just makes a cool headline, right? Rare JDM YouTubers, rare JDM car stolen, right? Import rare, etc. Right? But yeah. That, I believe, concludes most of what's happened this week. Which, I believe from there, we can go on to the gaming segment of the Stick Drift podcast. The final segments of whatnot. Oh my god, there's actually going to be motorsport stuff to talk about now.
Is there?
Because there's races and stuff going on now.
It's been way too long.
Well, while you refresh yourself on that, I'll run through the gaming news. So, this week in gaming, in the gaming world of racing games. Gaming. The Crew 2 is in its final week of what I believe to be the second to last season, the Blizzard Rush season. It is the Road Samurai Summit, with the reward being, like we mentioned, the returning 4th Summit car ever, the Mitsubishi Black Knight Edition, with legendary parts and just silver parts, as well as followers for the rewards. God damn it, I never get Forza ready, and I always have to look for it. And I know I'm not gonna know what it is, but I always... obviously, there's the new Forza update, which, big news on that, I suppose. By big news, I mean that it's coming up, and no one likes it. I guess end of this month. End of this month is when it releases. As far as I'm aware, Forza are currently in their second week of... What season even is this?
I have
what's the theme?
no idea. I haven't been on.
No, yeah, I mean, there was a theme, for sure. It was probably to do with cars, I imagine.
I imagine it is.
Yeah, I mean, they've been doing, mostly, it's a whatever, seasonal, right? It's because they're busy doing the promotional run on the new update, the Forza Rally update, which we talked about on the last episode of the Stick Drift podcast. But yeah, I can't really tell much, but obviously the week is autumn, as far as I'm aware. And in that week, the rewards are the exclusive being a Honda Trophy 15, and the hard to find above that is the Volster N, which Volster, that's a brand that exists. Is that even a brand? I've never heard that name before.
Where is this?
Volster. I'm looking at it in the Forza server. Volster.
Oh, I'm not in that server.
N? Oh, that is a brand. I've seen these. I don't know. Oh, it's a rebadged Hyundai. Oh, it's
the Hyundai Veloster, you melon. What?
That is a different pronunciation, to be fair. No, that's no, you're right, actually. Oh no, moving on. Let's move on from that. Oh
what?
No. Let's just move on. That's not how
also, are they using a discontinued car? The Veloster's what? That's the past gen i30. So.
Well, you know what? How was I supposed to know? That's a weird way of pronouncing it. Veloster? What is that even? What is
I don't think that's the correct pronunciation, but it's the British pronunciation.
Exactly, right. But
Volster N.
Well, the Honda said Honda in the name, but this one said Veloster, right? So I assumed that was the brand name, because the other one said Honda Trophy something.
It's a pretty distinct looking shape. Like, it's clearly a Honda.
Well, you know what? I've had so many bloody, like, random car brands show up. Like, Polestar, I didn't know existed. There was a different, Cupra, I didn't know
like
existed.
One of the best-selling hatchbacks. Like,
so I did recognize it. Okay, so I did recognize it. Yeah. I don't think there's anything else going on in gaming. Can you think of anything else going on in gaming?
There sure are games. Am I right?
Oh, I wanted to talk about the MOTORFEST news. Yes, so they announced, and I guess you're gonna have to hard no comment on all of this.
No comment.
What they announced was that they have concluded their first phase of testing, and they're going into their next phase. On average, well, I say on average if there's not just been one. That means a month long for the testing, and, you know, if there's... And again, starting back to back, meaning 3 more months of testing, and that lines up perfectly with UB/E3. And the word was apparently very well received. Comments on the handling, the off-road handling, which they have mentioned that they will be changing, as well as up to 5,000 people playing the next phase. Not a lot more information on that. Again, that's why I wanted to put it in this segment, because it's also a thing that we just kind of have to go, no comment, no comment, no comment, no comment on. So, but from that, we can go into the final segment of the Stick Drift podcast, Motorsports Monday, the segment filmed exclusively on a Saturday. And
if I knew this was happening, I would have had something prepared.
Well, I mean, you know, it's like it happens every week or
something.
There sure was a
race last week.
It was, in fact, it was probably Bahrain, if I had to guess.
Was it last week or was it 2 weeks ago?
This says 3rd of March is what this says. And then 17th is the next race, 17th to 19th. Yeah, 3rd to 5th of March in Bahrain.
I mean, it was a pretty boring race.
The track looks interesting, I guess. Why is the next track just like a butter knife with like a rope attached to it? Like, the next track is, I guess, visual watchers will be able to see. It's just a butter knife with it's like a weapon, is what it is.
It has a big straight. Yeah.
There's some like the Italy one looks boring as hell. Like what? That's it's a boomerang.
It's a top speed track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one turn away from being a NASCAR track. Like, come on.
Well, the only track Williams were good last year.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, I got this because I bought some cool stuff. Speaking of motorsports, I bought some photos that I'm probably not gonna ever end up putting up, but I want to put them up. I thought about this wall, but this is the silver play button wall, so I can't be doing that. Sorry to the audio listeners. They are the helmets of, and then the behind is an artsy with color scheme of this year's racers. The ones I bought, the ones of Max Verstappen with his thing. Obviously, we got the one with Lewis Hamilton. Obviously, it's got the flag and whatnot too. It's got the logos and the whatnot. It's got the numbers too. Big old Fernando Alonso too, and obviously the team to win this year, which I need to tell this story too. It's not even a story. It's just a bit of a riff. The team to win this year, Williams. I don't even know the guy's name. I haven't read it. I'm not gonna read it. It is the Williams. Also helmet head. That I also bought.
know the guy.
I circled back. If I asked them, do you have Latifi? And he looked through every paper and didn't have one.
No.
But I remember. So while I was at this was because they opened like these market stalls where I was, and I was just running through those, and there was this one because I wanted to get Summit while I was there, and I went. I remember saying when I circled back for the Williams, I went, oh, can I grab the Williams? And it was like, oh, Williams? Because obviously the ones I grabbed before were like Merc, Red Bull, right? The basic ones to go with.
Well, you grabbed the people that had world championships.
Yeah, exactly, right, exactly. And then I asked
you
for
obviously
Williams.
knew that picking with her.
I meant to do that. Yeah, of course. But I just picked them because names. I knew the name Hamilton and Verstappen. I can't pronounce them right. That's not allowed.
Did you know Alonso?
And then Alonso as well too. Yeah, big old him too. Which I vaguely recognize the name. So
I must have mentioned him at some point. I imagine because
yeah. I think he was in one of those AI generated memes.
Oh, he done the
too.
Griddy recently. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was either that or it was.
There was one where him, Hamilton, and like George Russell were waffling about something.
I was gonna get either Alonso, and I was very close to getting that, or Lando Norris, which is also a name I know because he does stuff with actual content. Like he was in a Will E video. I'm fairly certain. He does stuff with like actual UK content creators and whatnot.
Shame the car can't finish it right.
Yeah, but so yeah, he's young and in the world of that kind of stuff. But like I was saying, I was at the store and I circle back to get the Williams because I bought those three and I showed you
them. It's Albon. It's not even Williams the team. It's Alex Albon.
Yeah, that's his name, right? And you said didn't get Williams, so I went back to get Williams. And I said to him, "Could I get Williams?" And I said, "Oh yeah, because they're the team to win this year." And not the guy at the stall. Oh, a lady at a different stall next to it comes out of her stall, directly looks me in the eye, and just starts going, no.
Obviously doesn't believe in Albon's genius.
She was so offended by me saying Williams were gonna win that she came out of a non-F1 related stall, a completely unrelated, comes out to just go, no. Didn't say a word other than that. Just looked at me and just said no's. And then
most normal Williams hater. Yeah.
Exactly. Boo.
I'm surprised when you bought the Williams, confetti didn't come down, and Alex Albon himself comes out and shakes your hand.
Yeah. I got like a first customer award.
That's half of this year's budget, was that you buying that photo.
Yeah. I hope to pay off their fines for being too fast this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are cool. I'll put them up somewhere. One cool thing from that is obviously I've got the Williams, but coincidentally, the other three that I bought are obviously Alonso, Hamilton, and Verstappen. And in that order, it's a palindromic number. I just thought that was kind of cool because obviously it's 14, 44, 1, which, you know, it's
what
one.
order does that number go in? Is it what?
It's Alonso, Hamilton.
If it went Verstappen, Alonso, Hamilton, it would have been race finish order.
Oh, well, there you go. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's kind of cool, I guess. Which I did on purpose, of course.
That was almost you should have placed bets on the race. That was almost a god tier prediction.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Just randomly picked 3 names he knew.
Yeah. But yeah, which obviously it goes 14, 44, 1, 1, 4, 4, 4, 1, or the other way around, 1, 4, 4, 4, 1. Just kind of cool. They're cool. 3 names that I knew. They were the podium, apparently, as well. And, yeah.
Oh, they weren't podium. It was Verstappen, Perez, Alonso, Sainz, Hamilton. But it was evenly spaced.
Oh, is it in the finishing order? Okay.
Yeah.
But, yeah, kind of cool.
That was a podium. That would have been a banger race.
Exactly, yeah. But, I mean, I could have gone every week and just stockpiled Williams ones at that
You're
point.
the reason Alonso got a podium. You brought that and Leclerc's car blew up.
That happened the day after, I want to say. Like, I bought them, and then the day after, Alonso got podium. So, that was kind of cool. Which, I guess that was in motorsports. Twitter was all over that. Alonso getting podium was like a cool thing.
Aston Martin have a good car this year. Better than Mercedes, which is wild.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously Verstappening.
But it was basically Verstappen and Perez were like 26 seconds. Perez was like 26 seconds ahead or something like that. And they were like 36 seconds ahead in total, ahead of third, which was Alonso. Alonso essentially won the race, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Alonso, Sainz, and Hamilton fighting for essentially first, second, and third if you ignore Red Bull. So.
Yeah. Why is the Azerbaijan track so goofy looking? I'm looking at it and it's like...
I couldn't say where Azerbaijan is on a map. So.
It's such a goofy looking... Like, why does it look like that? It's like it looks like a vape. It's a vape with smoke coming out of it, is what it is.
Oh, that track is... I hate that track in F122.
Well, there you go. It's such a weird looking track, yeah.
It needs downforce, and yeah, well, my camera's imploded.
Nice.
You need downforce for it.
Well,
and, yeah.
your monitor had already imploded, so I don't...
It fixed itself.
There you go. What else in the world of motorsports? I guess in the world of F1, right?
Nothing until next week, unfortunately.
Oh, well, there you go. I guess
it was an interesting... Was it Ocon who got like 4 million penalties? I'm pretty sure it was.
These nuts.
Ocon these nuts, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it was him. Car 27, was that? That's Hulkenberg. Well, essentially, I don't know. It was one of the Alpines. I can't remember. This was last week.
Yeah.
But got a penalty for being out of his grid box on race start. So that was a 5-second penalty.
Yeah.
Came into the pitch to serve the penalty, and one of the mechanics started working like a 1/10 of a second too early on the car.
Yeah.
So he got a 10-second time penalty.
Oh, a 1/10 of a second. Oh.
Coming in to serve that penalty.
Yeah.
0.1 mile an hour over the speed limit for the pit line. Got another 5-second penalty.
Oh dear. Oh dear. You know what that reminds me of? There was a similar thing in I don't know. It was relevant enough of a story that I heard about it, right? Because it was in track racing, as in like the running. There was a guy who, because apparently you don't actually start on the gun, you're supposed to start 0.1 of a second after, and a guy got DQ'd. One of the fastest runners got DQ'd because he started 0.01 after, no, sorry, 0.09 after the gun went off.
Well, I think the way it works there is you can't have reaction times that good. So he started moving before the gun went off to achieve that time. So it was a mad prediction guess.
I guess, yeah.
You're not allowed to, unfortunately.
Yeah, which I guess you're not allowed to start fixing your car 0.1 of a second too quick too.
Well, it's because he was serving a penalty. It was the penalty for incorrectly serving, the 5-second penalty.
Yeah.
Which is a 10-second penalty.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But
then you got a penalty for speeding because
to
come in to serve that penalty.
But yes, obviously this goes to November. Oh, it's actually going to be like motorsports to talk about. Look at that.
They have it's like next race, and then there's 2 weeks isn't that until the next one after
so
that?
it's March 17th to 19th, then March, then 31st. Yeah, so I think that sounds about So then 31st.
It was race 2 weeks,
Yeah.
race 2 weeks, and then we have 3 races in a row.
After that, it's 28th of April. Then it's 5th of May. So that sounds close. And
That's
then
the week
19th of May, which is 2 weeks after that.
2 weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
I know we have a triple header at some point. I don't know when it is, but yeah.
I mean, I've got this sheet of paper that I got with the F1 head, so I could start I could put it on my wall and start crossing them off as we go. You know.
But you're not gonna watch a single one of those races.
I might watch. Yeah, no, probably. But yeah, from that's the end of that episode of the Stick Drift podcast, episode 18. I think someone mentioned it was episode 18. Your guesses are often right. Quick, drop a trademark Josh L guess.
19.
Oh, I'm a guess 18 actually. Okay.
What's going on, boys?
Talking. There we go. Okay, yep, that was my voice. Ew, cringe. It is episode 19. Okay, well, someone commented, where's episode 18? So I blame them for that.
How am I so good at guessing?
Yeah. But, yeah, from that to nothing else. That's going to be about it from us.
Williams are winning the championship by next race. They're going to score 400 points next race.
And my fire alarm's going off. So that was such a fire prediction that that my alarm's going off. So that's going to be about it from me. From both of us.
Yeah.
In a...
Yeah, so 4, yeah.
bit.